What is up, guys? YodaDaWise here once again, coming back at you. Now that I've had a lot of time to kind of play around with Hubarian, I thought we'd do a breakdown of him. And let's go through some videos and some replays, and let's see if he was worth it. Alright, so let's take a look at Hubarian right now. Alright, so I had him at around this leadership, but I decided to go back to Stella just because I wasn't getting the results in Galactic campaign that I wanted. So he's down to here, but I held on to him. But this is also the gear set that I was using on him. I felt that was, for what I had, the best. If anything, if you wanted to change out the Truth for another Titan, that would probably work out really well. But I liked having that added dodge. What was nice about having that dodge was it allowed time for his counter move skill to trigger, and honestly, that counter move wasn't quite producing what I wanted it to. But just for you know, explanation here, backstab is a 30% trigger rate. Launch an additional attack, and both the normal and additional attacks guaranteed to hit. The additional attack dealing 153% at level 51 of normal attack damage. Now, backstab, yes, was a good skill. The problem was the 30% chance. Now, the way that I played with him when they started to introduce the fourth skill that you could add on anywhere was with Twin. One, because I wasn't collecting coin or tokens or medals for Stella, otherwise I would have put Wings of Eternity. Twin or Wings of Eternity are definitely going to be probably the best skill to put on Hubarian, because you want him to be able to trigger backstab. You want him to be able to trigger counter move. Alright? This counter move only has a 40% chance to trigger, and the initiator gains a counter move state, rebounding once 51% of damage received from attacks from one round. Damage cannot exceed 1000% of normal attack. That's at level 51. So I'm assuming at level 60, it's going to be 60% of damage received is going to be based on the attack for one round. Now, what I haven't really been able to decipher is it based on your attack setup or the opponent's attack setup. That one I can't really prove. I'm assuming it's based on the attack from your opponent. That's what makes sense to me. Either way, you're going to want attack built on him simply because of backstab. Everybody knows what Infantry Awakening does. It is what it is. With Hubarian, I just wasn't seeing the results in Galactic Battle. Now, he does really great when it comes to another like infantry commander, or if you end up using SWE in a sense with the backstab skill. But the other problem with that is with him, if you want counter move to be productive, you can't use SWE. You can't use tear suppression. And the reason for that is if that while counter move is activated, if he doesn't receive damage, then it doesn't give damage, and it's a worthless skill at that point. This is just an ace, Hubarian against the Stella. Mind you, he's gonna hit me because of the power of Sagittarius, but luckily that rebound kills his entire slot of 1424 T9. And it kind of goes that way for this one. But this gives you a good idea of kind of like how that rebound works and how it's based on the attack received. And this is the best way I can describe it. It looks like it's going to be based on your opponent's attack power. And that's probably why when it comes to like Rogers, he doesn't do too well. Now right here, this is interesting because he's going up against a Vega. Now, the reason for this, and I had to go a couple times to get this, was I wanted Vega's quick recovery skill or healing ability to trigger, and I wanted to see if the counter move was going to ignore it. And when we go through this video or replay, you're gonna see right here he's gonna trigger counter move, and then Vega is gonna get his quick replenish. I haven't used Vega in a while, and it will ignore his quick replenish skill. So it's like spell damage from, you know, like Elf's Curse. It's going to take away those troops and it's not going to recover. Now, the next question was, is it going to do the same thing with Elf? Well, obviously, in theory, it should. And it ends up doing it. It just takes a moment here. I think I got to get to the second slot for it to finally trigger, because this individual did not have a lot of accuracy on his Elf. But there's the blessing. I have counter move, and he set off a Light of Gemini. Now, the other thing with this is, too, it only negates the first attack. So if you get a Wings of Eternity kind of skill to trigger, or you get a you know, Light of Gemini, something that's going to be multiple attacks in a row, it's only going to counter the first one, and you're going to have to hope that that first attack that they lay on you is going to blow up whatever slot that was attacking. And that's what kind of makes Hubarian this interesting commander of, you know what, there's potential. I don't have T12. I feel like in the T12 range, he does have a better grasp in terms of usability. And just kind of going on to what I have here. The problem with the newer, the T12.3, so to speak, is they're very damage reduction and, you know, crit wither in a sense, to where even if you receive the attack, since it diminishes it, it doesn't bounce back that attack. The problem with the 12.2 is, or the Great Sage, is that they're, once they actually hit, they put up their own immunity barrier, which, again, if you don't receive damage, counter move isn't going to do anything. When it comes, and that's where it comes down to, like, the best one to use is probably going to be, you know, the first T12, Transcender. And the reason for that is because they're HP based, so it's going to allow you to survive a little bit better, because they do have that more HP to them. Secondly, they don't reduce the amount of attack damage received. And if you want the counter move to work properly, that's what your focus is you want to receive as much attack as you can if it does hit, so it can push it right back onto your opponent and hopefully take out an entire slot. But that's why I find that the Transcender is probably the best one to go with above the new one and the Great Sage. Even though the Great Sage is going to give you more crit. But that's neither here or there. So, all in all, I wasn't really happy with him. I switched back to my Stella, and I use the same gear set on Stella. I switch out for the Assault now and then for some crit, because honestly I'm just lazy and I don't want to get another Magiwell up to 30. If this is one of your only infantry SCOMs, obviously, yeah, it's going to be a good one for you to use to play with. I mean, I have Medusa down at 20 and I have Vega down at 20, but I hold on to them because I like them. I'm not really a walker commander kind of person. I deal mostly in airship, and I dabble with the infantry as a second. And if you're not really strong in the infantry side of it, Hubarian is probably a good one, just kind of as a utility con. It's kind of like, oh, maybe I'll get lucky and they'll strike, and, you know, the counter move is nothing to do with the size or leadership of, you know, the actual commander. It's going to have to do with how much damage or attack he receives. So he could be a tiny commander, have his counter move up to 60, and still be useful in terms of receiving an attack and dishing it back because of that counter move. So he's not completely worthless. I just personally was not seeing the, you know, I wasn't seeing what I wanted to when I was using him. So he's kind of on the back burner for me. Kind of felt like I wasted a lot in terms of leadership to get him up there, but it is what it is. Such is life. Hopefully, you know, something new comes out with infantry, as this was an attempt, I feel like, for the developmental team of 7 pirates that wasn't a flop, but I feel like there could have been better in terms of this being a higher trigger rate, or at least backstab being a higher trigger rate, something. I don't know. A lot of it is too, they probably, you know, they're pushing for all this new gear that they've made almost impossible to get unless you spend a lot of money, which was how it was when the, you know, beta and the first release of this game was. And they're probably just trying to recover what they haven't been lately, as people have been moving on to other things, but that's okay. So at the end of the day, you know, Hubarian, like I said, and I feel like a broken record at this point, is not a terrible commander. He can be utilized as a utility con because his counter move does not rely on the size of leadership. It has to do with, well, can it survive long enough for you to get that random hit on a slot that has counter move active. When it does rely on size, also on the end of the backstab skill. So backstab skill is definitely going to rely on the leadership size, but counter move, it's not going to. Either way, how you want to play it, that's going to be on you. I hope this helps. Stay tuned. I'm working on getting more videos out. I've been crazy at my 40-hour-a-week job plus, so it's been kind of difficult, but stay tuned and you'll hear from me soon.